Trump voters in Florida are feeling mused and misled after deportations are happening in their backyard. Let's see what's going on.
From Florida, where for the first time in a very long time, he is polling underwater from the recent civics poll. Donald Trump's disapproval exceeds his approval, and Florida has become a very, very red state, as we all know. 48% approving, 49% disapproving. When you get into some recent issues like Donald Trump's concentration camp in the Everglades in Florida, which Trump is calling Alligator Alcatraz, and he's
Alligator Alcatraz. Now, he's calling it a concentration camp. I think the moment you start to talk about Nazi type of language, you've lost your argument. Let's just say it's a high security. Let's just say, it's an American prison that is, surrounded by alligators. But the moment you start talking about concentration camps, etc., it undermines your initial argument. But I do want to see what this guy has to say.
I'm selling all of this merch about alligators eating migrants. And again, the migrants, lots of people having temporary protected status in Florida, like the Venezuelan community and the Cuban community and the Haitian community. People despise Alligator Alcatraz by and large. If you go into independents, you have 53% oppose it. Only 26% of independents support the idea of Alligator Alcatraz, according to the new YouGov.
Well, I'm an independent and I support it, so I guess I'm in the minority. But what I support is having a detention center for people who have had their due process or are waiting to get their due process, somewhere that is clean, somewhere that is safe, somewhere that they cannot escape from, but also somewhere that is a deterrent. I mean, I think we should be looking to have deterrents that prevent people from breaking the law in the first place, and I'm not just talking about immigration, but also have deterrents that are good use of taxpayer money. So we'll complain if a facility is being used and it's hasn't been given the right permits allegedly. No matter what's going to happen, certain people are going to complain. So I wouldn't call it a concentration camp. I would say, from what I've heard about Alligator Alcatraz, which is branding, it is somewhere that is a state-of-the-art facility, but is somewhere that nobody wants to go and no one will try to escape.
Poll. And then in all voters, only 33% of people support Alligator Alcatraz. As you zoom in more locally to a place like Miami as well, a recent poll in Miami shows a Democrat, although in Miami the elections are kind of done on a nonpartisan basis. Party affiliation is not really listed. You know who are the Republicans and who are the Democrats. The Democratic challenger to become the mayor of Miami, Kristen Rosen Gonzalez, she's up by 6 percentage points on the current Miami mayor, Miami Beach mayor. And I think we're starting to see some changes there in Florida as well. Venezuelan Trump voters in Miami are desperate, terrified. They're pissed. They're suffering mental health issues and panic attacks over immigration and deportation uncertainty. Here we'll show you a brief supercut of what's going on there. Let's play us.
This Venezuelan business owner said the political instability has led to a 20% drop in revenue.
It's affected your clients as well as the people who work here.
Here in Florida, Trump won almost 70%.
Now, I do find it interesting. Now, I'm someone that is trying to learn Spanish and I do want to be fluent in Spanish. But you have a business owner in the United States. Yes, it is in Florida, and I've spent a lot of time in Florida, but he doesn't seem to be able to speak English. So what he's saying is he's had a 20% decline in business by the fact that he doesn't speak English. I'm assuming that a lot of his clients are Spanish speaking. So what is it really saying? That you can be in a country and you can have a successful business but not speak the language of the people there. Now, I don't know for sure. I'm just going by the interview. I'm watching it for the first time too. But I do find that curious. And I also think that shows how amazing America is. You can come from another country, not speak the language, which is English in America, but be able to build a business and be successful.
Percent of the Cuban American vote in 2024, along with 61% of Doral, home to the largest Venezuelan American population in the U.S.
They used us.
Adelis Ferro is the co-founder and executive director of the Venezuelan American Caucus.
How is the Venezuelan community feeling right now, especially in the context of these deportations?
Desperate, terrified. There are people with mental health issues. There are people with panic attacks, anxiety attacks. They'd rather to die than go back to Venezuela, and then
People
we have
are
to stop.
talking about taking their
I
lives.
have those messages.
The ripple effects affecting families and businesses.
Entiendo que hay mucha gente que ha invertido, tiene negocio.
A lot of people have already invested in businesses here and they've stopped because they just don't know what the future brings.
Still, experts say the current turmoil may not hurt the Republican Party.
Hear what they said? They used us. They used us. Here, I want to show you this. Miami and hat tip to be.
I find that interesting because as a Black person, a lot of Black people in America should feel that way about the Democratic Party for the most part, because, you know, when it's election time, they come around with a lot of promises, even though they know like 98% of Black people are going to vote Democrat anyway, but they come around with a lot of promises. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Now, I don't agree with any political process or any type of systematic aid to a set group of people other than people that cannot do for themselves. So I do feel that children should be protected and be provided for, but I don't think a racial group should be given a special carve out. But with that said, you know, every 4 years they come around and say, we're going to do this for Black Americans. We have the reparation talk. We have this, that, and the other, but we still vote 98%. I think it is for Democrats, but other communities and other cultures, they just vote. Like you do have Hispanics and Latinas and Latinos who vote across the spectrum. They vote Republican, Democrat, and independent for different reasons. But in this election, because I think what happened is the Republican Party under the leadership of Trump have picked up so many other minorities. Now you have to kind of have this conversation to say that it's like they were being used, when I think the America First agenda was appealing to a lot of people, because if America wins, then they win.
Because Miami for helping aggregate this stuff. They do great work. Here, a Miami woman says her whole family voted for Trump, but now her husband is in a Texas ICE prison awaiting deportation to Cuba after being arrested. Play this clip.
Toda mi familia votó por Trump.
Your whole family voted for Trump. Pero te sientes decepcionada? Do you feel disappointed, deceived, engañada?
A wave of disappointment. One of President Donald Trump's most loyal voting blocs, Cuban and Venezuelan immigrants. Now speaking out in Miami, a Republican stronghold, as the recent wave of deportations hits home. Elena Conde says she came here from Cuba on humanitarian parole in 2023. Her husband, Ariel Lara, crossed the border with Mexico twice, once in 2019 when he was detained and deported.
All right, so he broke the law twice. And two things can be true at the same time. So the wife came over, she has status, she's okay, she's not going to be deported. The husband, by her or this story's own admission, crossed the border twice. So he broke the law twice. So you can't think that, well, just because you vote for Trump, it's going to erase the fact that this person broke the law. Keeping in mind, there's tens of thousands, maybe even millions of people, but certainly tens of thousands of people that are waiting online, that are paying tens of thousands of dollars to do it the right way. You have people that have come over, are working, are trying to get other family members over, but they're doing it the right way. I just don't understand why there should be a higher degree of sympathy for someone who is actually breaking the law and has come across the border illegally twice.
And then again in 2022. 6 weeks ago, he was taken into custody at his residency hearing.
So he was given an appointment to go to ICE. You told him before he left for that appointment, you don't have anything to worry about. You haven't done anything.
Instead, he was transferred to Texas, where we spoke to him from his detention center.
¿Qué pensaba que iba a pasar cuando ganó Trump? What did you think was going to happen when Trump won? You're saying you believed the president when he said he was going to deport criminals.
Now, Elena is left behind with her daughter.
That's not kind of true, because what the agenda was illegal immigrants were always going to be deported, but they were going to start with the worst first. So the worst first, but work through the system. So again, my heart goes out to this family, because anyone in a situation where their father is going to be taken out of the home is not something to celebrate, and it's not something good. And if it were me in charge, would I want this to happen? Absolutely not. But where do you draw the line? And if someone has broken the law and they've been given the opportunity, this is the thing. People have been given the opportunity to self-deport and then come back legally. Maybe that pathway will be a little bit quicker. But if people are not heeding that part, so if they're listening to one part of what was said, but conveniently choosing to ignore other parts, as much as my heart goes out to them, it is a fact of the matter that this was not a lie. This was not something that was hidden. It was just that we were going to get rid of the worst first, which they blocked that. They try to oppose that as well. So there is no winning.
7-month-old son and Ariel's 70-year-old grandmother, who has been a U.S. citizen for years. Together, facing a reality they never imagined.
And you know Miami really showed out for the No Kings protest earlier last month. Just take a look at it right here. As CBS reported, a 10-year-old girl recorded a plea to Trump from Havana, asking him to reconsider a travel ban that's keeping her separated from her mother in Miami. Play this clip.
This is 10-year-old Sofia in Havana, Cuba, recording a plea for President Trump to reconsider the recent travel ban. Sofia's mother, Leah Yanez, fled Cuba 3 years ago and is now a legal permanent resident of the United States, living in Miami.
You came here with the hopes of one day bringing her to this country, con la esperanza de traértela.
Exacto, yo me vine con la esperanza de
Can I just ask something again? Why can't any of these people speak English? And it's not even that they're speaking broken English. Learning a second language is hard, especially as an adult. But it's not like they're speaking broken English to show that they're learning the language, but they're not quite there yet. They're just Spanish speakers. And again, I don't know if this is the 100% case, but this seems to be the thing. Things need to change. We need to make sure that tax-paying Americans and people that have come here legally and people that are waiting to make it to the U.S. legally, we need to make sure that those people are protected and the rights are protected. We need to make sure that people that have legitimate asylum claims are given the opportunity to be heard. But there's always going to be the gaming of the system. And unfortunately, in a system as large as this, sometimes you're going to come down on the side of, well, we're not going to make any mistakes and therefore we're going to have zero tolerance. The Biden administration went in the other direction. So it was kind of like, we will let some bad people in, but we want to make sure the good people can come in. They're just different ideologies, and there's problems in both sides. I don't think there is a way systematically at this point to be able to just let the good people in and hear these cases like what this lady has and do the right thing. There's always going to be some collateral damage, and it's sad. But I do have to ask, if you've broken the law by coming into the United States illegally, once, twice, 3 times, even if at that point you make it to the US and you're living and you're not breaking the law, you still broke the law. I recently heard a case of a cold case, murder, where the person that committed the murder, I think it was like 60 years ago, has now been sentenced to prison. Now, this person is in their 90s. And you can look at that and say, well, he's in his 90s. He only has a few years left. But he took somebody's life. And it may have taken 60 years for the law to catch up with him. But he still needs to serve that time. So we can be caring and we can be compassionate people, but there has to be justice. And where do we balance, or how do we balance justice, grace? That's the question.
Exactly, she says. I came with the hopes of bringing her because all the mothers who come here and the fathers hope to one day become residents and have the privilege of bringing our children. That privilege came through a family reunification visa. Yanis says Sofia was approved and awaiting the final step, an interview at the U.S. Embassy in Cuba. But it never happened. The new travel ban means only citizens of the U.S. can apply to sponsor relatives from Cuba, not permanent residents like Yanis.
This is happening at the same time that the Marines announced that they will be sending 200 Marines now into Florida, into areas in Miami to support ICE raids. So the United States Marines will now be used to attack some of Donald Trump's most serious, significant supporters over the years.
I don't think they're being attacked. I think that the Marines are there to do their job. The Marines are there to enforce the laws on the books. You may not agree with the laws, and in that case, the law should be changed. But that's what the Biden administration did. They had this group of people that were outside of the law, and they changed the law that the people could be in the U.S. And then now Trump has come in and revoked that law or changed the law again. We need immigration reform. I think that's the solution. But the problem is neither side will commit fully because it is a hot topic, and there's valid points and valid arguments on both sides. And because of that, no political party is going to just go in full either direction, because it would be political suicide. So we can keep having this conversation, but ultimately we need immigration reform.
The Cubans, the Venezuelans, the Haitians, who had temporary protected status under Biden, no longer have it. And the Marines are going in there.
The operative word is temporary, meaning not forever. And it was put in place, as I said, by Biden. And now another president has come in and removed that temporary protected status.
With ICE. It wasn't just enough that you have ICE and Alligator Alcatraz. Bring in the Marines to assist that. Watch this right here. You can see a group of migrants at the Chrome Detention Center in Miami. We'll show you some B-roll here, making an SOS with their bodies in protest of Trump's mass deportations and his cruelty. I mean, a horrific sight to see that right there. I'll share this with you as well. A Florida man who's now facing deportation days after saving a 9-year-old girl from a shark attack. We're seeing this right here as well. Let's play this clip right here.
A man who put himself in danger to help a little girl during a shark attack in Boca Grande is now facing deportation.
From one side, he was a hero, and now he's a bad guy.
Well, no. Well, when we see the story, you'll see. So he broke the law. He was in the U.S. illegally. He then did something good, which he should be commended for. But it doesn't erase the fact that he broke the law. But check this story out and tell me what you think.
Luis Alvarez was one of 3 men who rushed into the bloody waters to help 9-year-old Leah Lendell.
He jumped on the water to take the shark out of his hands. Yeah. So he blinked, take him out of the water.
Reynal Lugo, who also helped in the rescue, told us Alvarez was the first one to jump into the water to scare off the shark.
I talked to him after that. Even we laughed about the fact that we didn't think about what's going to happen to us. We act. So he's just that kind of person.
Body cam footage shows the 3 men, including Alvarez, standing next to the water as EMS treated Leah.
You guys put the towel on and stuff?
Yes, we put the towel on.
Okay, very good. Good job.
Thank you, sir.
But just 3 days after.
Good job. I wouldn't have done it. I'm not a swimmer anyway, but they did the right thing. They did the right thing as human beings, and more so as men. This is what men are supposed to do. And here's the rest of the story.
For the rescue, deputies pulled him over in Immokalee for driving without headlights. According to the arrest report, when asked for his license, Lewis showed a photo of his employment authorization card on his phone, commonly known as a work visa.
Okay, so he was pulled over for something to do with a light, illegal. He was then asked for his driver's license, and he did not produce his driver's license. He produced a work permit. So again, he saved the little girl. Great job. But it doesn't mean that you then get to walk around society after you've broken the law to be here. You're now breaking the law. It may be a minor traffic violation in some people's eyes, but it's still breaking the law. Does he have a driver's license? Is it legal to drive in Florida without a driver's license? I don't think so. In a lot of states, it is illegal. So the way that they frame these stories is very biased, and I do my best to be objective, but I do like to point out when people are clearly not being objective and they have an agenda in what they're saying and what their narrative is.
When they discovered he didn't have a driver's license, he was arrested and taken to jail.
I don't know why this person is being detained by ICE if he had a work permit, unless he has a criminal background.
Well, no, he's being detained by ICE because he broke the law to come into the country, and then he got arrested because he broke the law again. Right. So I hope this guy's not an attorney, because he's saying, I don't know why. He can say that he doesn't agree with it, but he should certainly know why.
I think Luis deserved a second opportunity. He didn't think about it twice to save that little girl.
Again, all very, very tragic to see. Here's an example, though, also of a Trump supporter who husband was taken away at a court proceeding where she showed up to. Here, play this clip.
Su nombre, Daisy Salvador. Daisy, ¿usted está aquí por su esposo? Por mi esposo, que fue detenido ahora injustamente. ¡Injusticia! ¡Es esto! ¡Injusto! Esto es para... No, para cualquiera. Tienen lista con abogados, sin abogados, esto es como quiera.
Should be noted as well that Section 8, the popular federal rental assistance program for low-income families, the elderly and disabled, is now frozen in Miami due to a $45 million shortfall. Also, we know the feds are going to be cutting Section 8 housing as well in their disastrous budget bill. Let's play this clip right here.
Well, the popular housing program has been put on pause. Section 8 is frozen in Miami-Dade because it just doesn't have enough money right now. So that means the county is not allowed to issue new rent vouchers or consider new applications.
All right. So in my household, when there's not enough money for something, it can't be done. I'm not sure what they're saying here, but again, it's all framing, but you get the drift. There are people that are now feeling a little bit used. There are people that are feeling like they were misled because Trump is now enforcing what he said he was going to do. Like it or hate it, it is what he said he was going to do. And if people felt that by voting for him, that would give them a free pass or a get out of jail free pass, literally, then the truth is sometimes painful. All right, make sure that you like, subscribe, and check out my other videos. I do try to call balls and strikes. I do try to provide a level of nuance, compassion, and care to the news, because we're talking about human beings, and families being separated is not a good thing, and a household without a father is not a good thing. But people have to abide by the law. And if people want to make it to the U.S., which is the greatest country on earth, which is why they want to be there, they should do it the right way. And they shouldn't try to skirt the law, because there are thousands and tens of thousands of people that are working hard to do it the right way.